Alrighty, welcome back. Welcome back. This is my first official match preview that I will be doing for you guys today. Obviously, for those of you who do not know, first off, my name is Laurent. Again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And besides that, I am a Chelsea fan. So by that nature, I would say that I'm not very well liked on this podcast. And obviously, right, the reason why I'm even doing this preview today is in anticipation for that very game on Sunday versus the one and only the Arsenal. Okay, and with that, let's get started. So make yourselves nice and comfortable. I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can, right? As not to bore you with the Chelsea details and what's going on inside the club in preparation for this match. So first and foremost, um, obviously, for those who do follow the Premier League, Arsenal is favorite to win this game. Funny enough, you go on Google and you check the probability stats, and from what I'm seeing here, Arsenal 60%, a draw 23%, and Chelsea only 17% probability outcome for them to come out on top. Now, if you ask me, I say that those numbers are not as accurate as they should be. As for one, I have predicted Chelsea to win. A bit of that also comes down to the fact that, right, it is my club, so there is a bit of a support element in there. But as well, I do think that we can edge out this Arsenal side, right? So I'm just gonna share that with you guys in a bit. Now, having listened to Liam's presser, which was dropped on the channel earlier today. The first question, well, one of the first questions that was asked of him was in regard to his tactical setup. Now, if you guys remember, in the this was the Carabao Cup semifinal. So that second game, the setup was intriguing to say the least. We did play five in the back, okay, and we had yeah, it was a 5-3-2 if I remember correctly. And a lot of the fans were not happy on our side, simply because they felt that it was a bit too conservative of an approach, especially for that type of game where we were down by one and it was required for us to go out there and win. Now, in response to that question, this is what our manager, right, has said that it was more so done in regards to a personnel issue. Okay, so we at the time we were missing a lot of key players, and in regards to that, or in response to that, sorry, I should say, he did feel that it was necessary to set up in that way. Now, having said that, I do not see him doing the same thing in this upcoming fixture. One, because I do think that we do have the options going forward to set us up with less of a man in the defense. And two, because I do not feel that on a psychological level, we have to play with five in the back, right? Mind you, there's nothing wrong with a five in the back formation, as a lot of teams do utilize it. If you look at the Inters and even the Chelsea of the past under Tuchel, right? And obviously teams even like Atleti. But the difference is that for certain teams, it's truly right their tactical profile, right? It's their default, it's their go-to. Whereas with other teams, and like us in that case, where it was more so of an adjustment as opposed to it being right how we usually set up. So for me, I think that with this game, four in the back will be more than sufficient. We will have the firepower up top to be able to deal with all the threats that the Arsenal are going to try to come at us with, right? Um, Other than that, now it is sad to say, right, that our last two games in the league have not been the best. And obviously, given the results, I believe two draws. Yeah, two draws. And those draws came from a winning position. Chelsea in this season is known as the team to have lost or dropped the most points from a winning position. So with that in mind, uh, you can easily say, right, that there is a bit of a lack of focus on the players in their ability to even see games out from winning positions. And I think that that is going to be one of the key points to address on our side, and also a key point in deciding how this game pans out after the 90 minutes, right? Because on one end, right, there's the aspect that, this is not a Burnley that we're facing. It's the first place team, right, in the league, a team that at this point is competing for four trophies. And anything other than full concentration, right, I do not think is going to allow us to come out uh, of the Emirates with the result that we are looking for. So Liam has spoken about it, right? That it is a mindset issue, and that is something that he is looking to address with the player, right? Being able to rely and depend on a lot of the players there, despite for some having a lack of experience in those situations, right? And I mean, more so than that, for Chelsea fans, there is a bit of a reprieve in knowing that it's not a technical issue. I do not think, at least, right? Again, it's a team worth 1.2, I think, billion dollars as of now, and m majority of the players. Okay, and I think even right to those of you who do like to banter at us, right? The Garnachos, the Liam Delap. You can see that majority of the players on that team have the ability and the capabilities to wear the Chelsea kit. So going toe to toe, right, with Arsenal again. I mean, the Champions League draw happened earlier this morning. We're up to for facing PSG. For those of you who recall, right, the same PSG that we had to beat in the finals to become world champions, and we did beat them, right, in astounding fashion. If you guys recall, right, they pretty much had no answers for us in 90 minutes, and it's the same set of players essentially, right? So it's not a technical issue with Chelsea at the moment, whereas it's more so a mindset issue, which is something that I do believe firmly that this manager is going to be able to address to get the best out of our players going forward. All right, and yeah, I mean, so far so good for Liam. 8 of 12. Right, 8 of 12 won, right, which is a good record. When he came in, uh, and yeah, when he took over, I believe we were in eighth place with a number of games or a run, sorry, of games which we did not win it in the Premier League, right? So thanks to him, we've been able to climb up to fifth place. We could have been sitting in fourth place had we not dropped the points in those games, but it is what it is. Now, flipping the lens a little bit here, if we look at it from an Arsenal perspective and the threats that Arsenal are going to look to deploy, right? I will say, okay, and I will acknowledge this, that I think Gyökeres could be a potential problem if he's not played correctly from our center backs. For one, he is a man in form, you could say. Um, whether or not he's in as great of a form as our number nine, right? João Pedro is a question for another day, but he is in form. And he's had a taste of goal from the last few games. And a player like that is usually always dangerous because you're coming to a game with a high degree of confidence. You have players on your side who have the ability to feed you the service, right? And all it is for him now is just getting into those positions. So the job for us now, right? And this is more so on our center backs, obviously, our midfield, and even our attacking players, right? They're going to do um, the defensive work on their end to prevent those balls, right, from reaching Gyökeres, simply because one, Gyökeres is not the type of player to drop into those midfield positions, um, nor is that something that he's been asked to do, right? So you can bet that he's most likely going to be roaming in between our center back. So um, whoever is called up on that day for us is going to have to one mark him uh, with a great degree of physicalness, right? Because a lot of the goals he has scored, or even where he looks more dangerous when you watch the Arsenal games, it's usually when he's able to create space for himself by outmuscling the other defenders. And then from there, right, he can receive the ball, maybe a quick run and then go for the shot or look to even make a pass back to another player, right? So he's a very physical player, which is something that Liam has mentioned in the presser as well. For those of you who don't know, Liam did work with Gyökeres at Brighton for the U23s, right? That's when he was coming up in the ranks. And right, the two things he has mentioned about him was his physicality and his pace. So again, that's why I'd say it's going to be key for our defenders to match him with that, right? So it's not a game where you allow the player to dictate anything on the physical end, right? If you have to tussle with him, by all means. If it has to get scrappy, by all means again. But you cannot allow a player like that to impose himself physically uh, in a game like this, right? So we got to make it very hard for him. Um, as for the other players that I think could be dangerous going forward for us, I want to say Eze simply because of his recent performances, but at the same time, a part of me is not too sure as to whether or not he can replicate um, or if he can show that consistency that he has shown in I mean there's a Spurs game, the last game he played all right before that. Um, but I feel like with Eze it's been on and off. Now I did take a look or sorry, a listen I should say at Arteta's presser. And the one thing he has mentioned in regards to Eze is that he feels like he's starting to understand where to play him. And on one end, it's a bit worrying because if that's the case, right, then it seems like okay, you could then bet on him being played in a certain manner that gets the better performances out of him, right? And mind you, this was said on the back of a question pointing to the fact that Eze was dropped after I think it was the Villa game where he slept on his defensive duties and he allowed the Villa player to score. And ever since then, right, he's been dropped or he hasn't been getting the consistent minutes that a lot of the fans were expecting him to get. So I feel like right with Arteta mentioning that, okay, well, in response to that, right, and the games after that, that he's starting to see where Eze flourishes. Now we can all agree that, right, as a quality player, obviously given his move to the club in the first place. So I think with a player like that, right, a midfield player, it's going to come down to also our midfield, right, and making it extremely hard for him to operate. I would say even because I've noticed that for Eze, the harder games is for him um, are when he has less time on the ball, right, to make that move. More so the aspect of because again, right, it's you can mark tight, right, give the player lesser time, but if the player, if a player is quality in the sense that he's always aware of his positioning and also where his teammates are on the pitch. Usually, players like that are they know how to maneuver out of tight spaces, right? Tight man marking, and being able to deliver the right pass at the right time. So I think that for me, it's more so not a type of man marking, right? That just doesn't assess for those other factors again, right? Where the Arsenal players are on the pitch, right? So yes, you want to mark tight to a certain degree, right? But at times there's times where right maybe a tight man marking isn't what's required, right? But again, you're forcing the player right to make decisions fast. But I'd say with Eze, it's more so of him not getting into the groove of the game. So if you have to force him to um, release the ball, right, and not having get those touches, right, and get into that rhythm, then so be it. Which I think is one of the instructions that our manager and our coaching staff should deliver to the players around that side of the pitch, right, who are going to have the job of marking him. Because if not, right, if you do allow a player like that to get confidence, obviously from what we've seen thus far, right, he can be very dangerous in terms of even putting the goal or even making key passes to his teammates, right? So for me, I'd say, yeah, those two. Given recent games and recent performances, I know Kai Havertz may play based off of what I've been hearing in terms of him coming back from injuries and whatnot. He's another to look out. But apart from that, on the attacking point, obviously, you have Rice as well, who's good going forward and good on the defense. Um, but apart from those two, I would say that, and yeah, obviously Saka. But I think with Saka too, right? Obviously, given our injuries, which for those of you who aren't up to date, Kukureya will not be playing, and that is one player who we can all agree is a quality left back. In terms of, I'd say more so his defensive duties as opposed to him going forward. But he favors tight man marking, and he does it in a way too where he doesn't usually get beaten on 1v1s, right? And from the games we've had thus far with Arsenal, especially this season, Kukureya has done a phenomenal job on Saka on that side of the pitch. Uh, and yeah, to the point where Saka hasn't been as efficient, right? In terms of his progressive ball forward, and even his 1v1 takes. But unfortunately, right, that guy is not there. So what that can mean potentially, depending on who we have or who we put in, right? I'll get to that once I tell you what my starting 11 or predicted starting 11 would look like. But depending on who we have in that position, I think it goes one or two ways. It's either Saka has a phenomenal game, and you can even say, right, he could even pick up an assist from that side of the flank, or we can get someone to closely resemble or reproduce what Kukurea has the ability to do on the defensive side, right, and be able to neutralize Saka. So if that's the case, then that's why I'd be more so not too worried about Saka on that side, and also given all his performances in the league, um, because I feel like he hasn't had a season for a player of that standard. I do not think he's had the best season, so you can almost say, he's not in the greatest of form. So, given that, right, I'm not going to put too much regards to him as an attacking threat. Moving forward, okay, into our injury list. All right, so I did mention already a few names here. Or sorry, I should say one of about six. So obviously Kukurea, right? Hamstring injury, will not play. Two more players with and injury similar to that, Esteval and Gittins. Now, two wingers, and you could say two dangerous attacking players, and especially for the options that we have. Esteval is a big blow, and so is Gittins, given his performances before he got injured. He's definitely a player that will be missed in that position. And then apart from that, you have Colwill, obviously, right? The long-term injury, and our keeper, Jurgensen, who will also not feature, given injury as well. And then the last player is Mr. Fofana. Fofana. Red card, right, against Burnley, which, funny enough, right, you could say was the action in the game that did cost us that game. So yeah, he as well will not play given that suspension. Um, Now, before I get into my starting 11, I like I said, I mentioned that there are two wingers, two attacking players that we do not have. And based off of what Liam has said in the presser, okay, and for those of you who have watched the games thus far, at times Liam has played with one winger, and what is meant by that, right? It's not literally, having one winger on one side of the pitch. It's just a player who is of that profile. Um, so I mean, I've seen a game where he's put Fernandez in one of the wing positions, Cole Palmer, right, number 10 winger, you could say that. But in response to the extensive injury list, he has said that it's going to take a bit of adaptation on his end, and we're lucky enough to have, right, the talent and the personnel to be able to adjust for those scenarios. So we'll see, right? We'll see how that goes. But despite that, right? So long as, listen, between you and I, so long as we're not putting Liam Delap in the right wing position, right? I think we're good to go with whatever we have at our disposal here. Um, and yeah, beyond that, two things: dependability, and from that dependability, right? The fact that or the aspect of players being able to deal with pressure moments, right? So that's one of the things that was mentioned. And again, this comes back to what I did point out earlier in terms of the mindset, right? That at this point, our manager is looking to put his faith and his trust in players that show those things, right? That they are dependable, and they are dependable because they have the ability to deal with pressure moments, right? At any point during the game. Because again, right, it's the game is 90 minutes, it is two halves, and you have to be able to stay the course, right? For those two halves, irrespective of where you're at in the scoreline. And obviously, right, our season thus far has been faced with a lot of lapse of concentration, which has resulted in errors left and right. A lot of disciplinary issues, which in turn has cost us a lot of points and a lot of drop points, unfortunately. So we'll see, right? You know, from when who the players are that are going to get his trust for this game, and who of those chosen players, or even those on the bench, right, who can meet the task of paying in kind, right? That trust by showing that they are dependable and can handle those pressure situations, especially in a game like this, which is a game away from home. Okay, so now on to what you guys have been looking for quite a while now. All right, here is my starting 11. So obviously Sanchez in net. Left back for me, I would put in Gusto. You could argue for Hato, but I do not think that in terms of his experience, it'd be wise to start him in a game like this. So that's why I would say Gusto. I think Gusto has the pace to match Saka, right? Because I assume that's who is going to be played there. Um, Physicality, I do not think that Saka is as physical as as stronger players, right? Or as stronger wingers. He does have a sense of physical sense, but I think that it's one which Gusto can match. Um, Beside him, immediately beside him, Sar for me starts. Mamadou Sar, despite having only featured two games for us thus far, right? He was called back on loan from Strasbourg. Um, but when the AFCON, right? He did feature in the AFCON, showed great promise, right? There's a reason why Liam decided to call him back from loan. Um, and in terms of also what we've seen from his that first game he started, um, the ball delivery, right? The composure. These are things you like to see in a center back. Beside him, Chalobah, simply for the fact that, well, Chalobah has been solid for us across the entirety of the season, I will say. So that's one player that um, truly has come in clutch. He's played phenomenal games. Those late, well, I wouldn't say late because he does it throughout the game, but those decisive tackles that he makes, and you can even tell like the energy with which he goes into those challenges. And then when he gets some from them, right, riling up the crowd, riling up his teammates, right? These are all things that you want to see in a defensive player, right? And it's a certain aspect of leadership as well, which I think is going to be essential for us to be able to take this game through the 90. To the right of him, Reece James. Now, I think that for us, Reece James could be a hidden X factor, and I say this because on the back of that game we had versus them under Maresca, where Caicedo was taken off for that challenge, I think on Mourinho. And remember, we're playing that game with 10 men, and thanks to Reece James and his efforts, and I believe he also did get man of the match. You can fact check me on that. But that guy in that midfield position, especially well, depending on even if if we get him to invert, how we get him to invert. But for me, I think he's just a key player, right? So going forward as well, right? If you also look back to the Tuchel days, right? When he was played as a right wing back, right? His ability to go forward. So I think he can, for one, defend, right? Which is what he's asked to do first and foremost. But at the same time, right, going forward and stopping attacks while he's doing that, but also those ball deliveries, right, into our attackers, I think is going to be something that our players are going to relish in this game. Um, Moving on to our defensive midfielders, should I say more Caicedo, Santos? Those are going to be the two. That pairing has looked solid. I think, Caicedo this time around will not get caught in the heat of the moment, right? And I expect all of our players to finish the game without being sent off. So yeah, Caicedo there, Santos beside him. Santos thus far solid. I mean, the one thing, right? Last game on that corner, right? Supposedly it was him uh, that's the lost focus and allowed for that header to make its way into the back of our net. But apart from that, right, I truly have no criticism for him. I think he is a phenomenal talent, right? And if he keeps this up, right, he definitely has a place on the world stage. So, yep. Now, moving on to the attacking line. The 10, Fernandez for me. Yeah, it just makes sense. And then to the left of him, Pedro Neto. To the right of him, Cole Palmer. And this, or at least those three, right? In the positions that they are, I'd say is more so given the fact that our other wingers, Giddens, Esteval, right, are not fit. Because had they have been fit, right, you can even drop one of those players, but now suddenly you get them to move around a bit. Maybe you keep Fernandez there, and who knows, right? Actually, you could even have Cole Palmer in the 10, and then now depends on whether or not maybe you I would force Santos to sit on the bench, and you can have Fernandez in that defensive midfield position, right? And yeah, with the reign to move forward if need be. But as things stands, those three are for me who are the three that are going to be starting. Right, Neto, Fernandez, and Palmer. And then leading the line is the one and only João Pedro. And yeah, I mean, it's a solid 11. It's a solid 11 on paper. Just yeah, purely if you look to the names alone, right? It's a talented team, and I think it's going to be more so the ability for these guys to be able to stay engaged, right? On the attack, on the defense, right? Moving the ball quick. One thing we have noticed with our new manager is our attack has increased a lot more, right? The passing isn't passive; it's progressive at all times. We find ourselves in the opponent's boxes a lot more throughout the course of the game. The only thing that I will say is the finishing, right? We have seen the likes of Cole Palmer missing a sitter, right? A big sitter, which funny enough was one of those games that again, right, we dropped points in where right had he made that, it would have been the full 3 points. Uh, so I think more so than our defense, obviously, right? The defense has to be solid, but we have to be able to put our chances away. I do not, well, I'm sorry, I fully believe in our ability to create great attacking positions for ourselves at the Emirates. And now it's just going to come down to the players and being able to execute on that. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Again, right? This is my official first match preview. Hopefully, right? There may be more, maybe in the Champions League. Who knows, right? Depending on how far you guys make it, and also, right, if uh we get well at this point, if we do face each other, it would have to be in the finals, right? So still a long way to go. But all in all, before I sign off, right, best of luck to the Gunners worldwide, because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. I say that with all honesty, right? I have predicted a win for this game for the last 2 weeks or 1 week and a half now, because I firmly believe that this is the time where Chelsea goes back to slapping Arsenal, right? And with that, I'd like to again thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you for staying in touch, right, on our socials, on our platforms, taking in our content. We're going to keep dropping, right? More content for you guys in the long run. And please feel free to share with us, right? Let us know what it is that you guys want to see from us going forward, and whether or not you guys want us to provide something different for you guys, right? As the end of the day, we do this for you, the viewers and listeners at home. So before I go, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Okay. Tune in to the podcast episodes on your commute to work or wherever you may be, right? And with that, adios.